One of the questions that just came up yesterday and someone asked me is how did wine and spirit stores be recognized in Connecticut as an essential business? And is it really an essential business? So my answer to the question is wine stores and package stores an essential business? The answer is yes. For some, it absolutely is. And the reason for that is that we have many Americans and many individuals here in Connecticut that are alcohol dependent. If they stop drinking immediately without medical supervision and support, they would be in a position to possibly die. You can die from alcohol withdrawal. And if they became very uncomfortable, it's likely they would come in to our healthcare system, which is already challenged with being able to be prepared for COVID-19. So our government officials, I believe, made the decision to not have alcohol stores close during this time of stress, particularly for those that may have alcohol use disorder. And I think that was actually a wise decision because only 15% of individuals with substance use disorder seek out treatment during any given year. And for those individuals that are at home that did not have access to treatment, it could be a life-threatening situation. Somebody coming through off a withdrawal for opiates would not die, but if they come off withdrawal cold turkey on their own for alcohol or benzodiazepines, it can be life-threatening, needs medical support. And our system right now is already completely challenged to be able to deal with admissions that are COVID related. In fact, in any given year, there's over 250,000 admissions that are alcohol related that come in as it stands now in our society. If we cut off alcohol supply, it would be much greater. In Connecticut, every state has to make their own decisions. In Pennsylvania, my understanding is they did cut off package store access, and they are trying to increase access to treatment to address this need. So that would be something that I think we really have to look at strongly. There are many people out there, many Americans that are struggling with alcohol use disorders that deserve treatment today. At Liberation Programs, we are open to help those with any type of addictions, including alcohol, and provide them treatment on demand if they call us and certainly would like to get some help with treatment. What I wanted to address also today is the general population. We know, and we've learned this from the National Institute of Drug Abuse, that people do drugs and drink for two reasons. One reason is to feel good, and that sensation seeking. It's about connection with others. It's in a social environment. Those individuals usually go through life unscathed, and we won't see them coming through our doors at Liberation Program. Who we work with is the other category, people who drink and do drugs to feel better. They're self-medicating, underlying anxiety, not being comfortable in their own skin, trauma, depression, something else going on in their life, and now they are using alcohol to self-medicate. If we look at the stress going on right now in our society, clearly there's a much unknowns. There's a heightened level of anxiety. There's a heightened level of PTSD for people in trauma as a result of this pandemic. And what we know from 9/11 is a significant increase in alcohol sales, over 50% 30 days after 9/11 for those that have experienced post-traumatic stress disorder. We know we are going to see the next wave of this pandemic be issues around mental health and issues around substance use disorder. Specific to alcohol, we need to recognize that people that are socially isolated are disconnected, and disconnection can be a risk for people to develop an alcohol issue because now they're no longer in the context of just drinking for connection with others. They're drinking to self-medicate. And we hear, and I'm seeing people online talking about day drinking, not a good idea. What we know about social drinking, and it might be very disappointing to the world out there, social drinking is very delineated by the National Institute of Alcohol and Alcoholism Studies. Social drinking for men means no more than 14 drinks per week and no more than 2 drinks in any given setting. If you do the math, that means you can't have more than 2 drinks every day or it'll surpass 14. For women, it's less than 10 drinks per week and less than 2 drinks in any given occasion. If men and women stay within those parameters, there's less than a 5% chance that they'll have a problem with alcohol in their lifetime. However, if they break the daily parameters, it now goes to a 1 to 5 chance that they'll have a problem with alcohol. And if they regularly break the weekly and daily parameters for those limits, now it will be 1 in 2, 50% chance that they'll develop a problem with alcohol. And this is even not even looking at genetic predisposition. So what we know about alcohol is increased exposure, particularly increased exposure at an early age, increases risk. And we also know increased exposure to stress increases risk. That's why I implore the individuals out there that are socially isolated to take care of themselves. Self-care is so key in being able to ground oneself in one's feelings and one's experience, so as that one does not have to self-medicate just to distract from some feelings that become overwhelming. Stay with your rituals, stay with your schedule and routines, which probably doesn't mean start drinking during the day. Try not to change any patterns around drinking, particularly since much of these rituals now will not include social context, and drinking alone is what puts other people at risk. There's actually an assessment for adolescents called the CRAFT by John Knight out of Harvard, CRAFFT, which assesses a risk for alcohol misuse. And C is getting behind the wheel impaired, obviously puts somebody at risk, or in a car with somebody impaired. R, though, is relax. Relax is now self-medicating to drink instead of social context. The A in CRAFT is alone. And what are we spending most of our time doing now? Being alone. And that puts people at risk. The first F in CRAFT, two Fs, are family and friends. Are your family and friends worried about your use? And now with much connection with family, some people would be maybe more exposed than normal to some unhealthy patterns. The second F is forget. Have you ever forgotten something or an entire night as a result of drinking? This suggests some blackouts, which are very serious and no longer falls into the category of social drinking. And then T is, have you ever gotten in trouble as a direct result of your drinking? So the idea of an alcohol use disorder is the alcohol is a chronic brain disease that is progressive if not treated, and your continued use of alcohol, despite consequences to your health, to your social life, or your occupation. So be careful out there. Try to stay within those guidelines. Obviously, if a person in recovery, abstinence is the only recommendation that what I would come out of today. But if there is someone who does not have a substance use disorder, please, this is not the time to develop it. And the population at large, because of all these unknowns and the stress that the world is going through, puts everybody at risk. So please be safe and be healthy out there. Thank you.